A young man named Julius has been telling South Africans an interesting story. He's been saying that if they vote for him, he will nationalize the banks and the mines and spread the wealth of the nation among the poor. It's a curious notion, given that a bank is a private enterprise. It's the same thing as saying you started and ran a little spaza shop and you're now wealthier than the 4 people around you. So now you're obliged to give the profits from your business to them. The only difference is scale. When you're dealing in billions, it somehow seems less wrong to take the money for yourself. But let's forget for a moment that the term for someone who takes money from a bank to which they are not entitled is bank robber. Let's assume for a second that it's the right thing to do. Let's assume that the angry masses who support his way of thinking get their way. Let's assume that Julius comes to power. Now, Julius's supporters call themselves economic freedom fighters, which is curious given that they don't have any plans to increase education, teach people to be self-sustaining entrepreneurs, or encourage new business growth. In fact, their only plan is take from others. For a brief moment in time, the economic freedom fighters are happy. Julius has nationalized the banks and the mines. He can now plunder all the money and make the poor rich. Hooray! Let's assume that he does not start by stealing all of it for himself. That's a pretty big assumption, given how utterly corrupt our current government leaders are. Remember how they somehow managed to lose 40 billion in public funds this year alone? But I'm sure Julius won't steal. He's not in it for the power or the money. He just wants to help the poor. So, what happens next? Julius plunders all the wealth from the banks and the mines, and then do 40 million previously disadvantaged people all line up with Tupperware boxes? Julius stands at the head of a long queue and goes, free money for you, free money for you, free money for you. Let's say that happens. 40 million people all get their bit of free money from the banks and the mines. Then what? Well, for starters, the new wealth will last 1 week. Some people will buy new furniture. Some will buy clothes. Human nature being what it is, some will just blow it on partying, drink it till it's gone. A week later, it's gone. All of it. Oh well, so what? At least a few people managed to buy a couple of odds and ends. But hold on. There's something they've forgotten. In the background, the banks and the mines have collapsed. Like to buy a car? Sorry, you can't. The option of financing is gone. Like to build a house, start a business, pay for a university degree? Same story. You can't. There are no banks. Oh, and in draining the mines, the economy has also collapsed. South Africa is broken. Will we be able to muddle on through? The answer is no, and here's why. Remember all that lovely money that was being hoarded and stored by the evil capitalist banks? Well, it turns out that money belonged to other families and to businesses. They're now bankrupt too, and so there's no charity from the wealthy. They've been wiped out. In a single event, our economic freedom fighters have collapsed an entire nation. South Africa is broken. So, what's the alternative? Here's the answer. We need makers, not takers. No nation on earth can become wealthy by taking from itself. If too many takers take from the makers up and leave. So the answer is, South Africa needs makers. We need education that grows entrepreneurs and small businesses. We need people who create, make, manufacture, grow, develop, produce, and add to the total wealth of the nation. When Korea wanted to grow their wealth, they started car companies and electronics manufacturers to take on the world markets. Today, companies like Samsung and Kia are conquering the world. In SA, our only thinking around economic growth seems to be take from others. Want to be a true economic freedom fighter? What's your plan for growing self-sustaining human beings? Create a nation of angry takers and you have created a vortex, a death spiral. Create makers and South Africa can prosper. I'm Douglas Kruger. I speak and write on the topic, is your thinking keeping you poor. I speak on how to be an effective and prosperous entrepreneur. I do this because I believe to the core of my being in creating makers. It's the only thing that works.